My name is Loriana Tisher, and as a chief, I'm with the business school. We have a unique internship program that differentiates us from some of the other colleges throughout the country. Hope I don't get tangled up in this part, maybe a little bit. So basically what we try to do is provide very rigorous internships. So each intern actually has a job coach, and they have to answer a lot of questions to help shorten the learning curve and provide a lot of value during the internship. And so kind of parallel to what Kirsten was saying, I think it's really important to be very intentional with your design. What you get out of the internship is going to be what you put into the internship. And it's critical that sometimes people think, oh, I just need a warm body. Well, that's not the best place to have an intern and design around that. You want to provide a great experience for the intern, but more importantly, I think for your business, your nonprofit, you want to make sure that person's adding value. And so that's what we talk a little bit about from the company perspective, some things I would consider as you do that design. So we're going to look at the decision to host, how do you create the job description, recruiting that intern, and then preparation. I would encourage you, and I don't know if we want to turn on the lights a little to show this, if that's possible, how that'll impact the video. Great, thank you. These are our requirements. Every university is going to have different requirements, but this will give you a bit of a sense of what some may look like. For us, we actually have a period of time where it needs to be 8 weeks if it's within the continental United States, and it has to have so many hours. So that's one thing you want to be thinking about is what is the duration of that internship. And you may even, if you have the need, you might consider having multiple interns kind of chain one after another so that each feed into the next person's work. So that's one possibility. The other thing is often internships will require a project or a set of projects. We've just recently modified our guidelines, realizing that some companies, especially smaller ones, don't have a major project. But what we are looking for is the experience needs to parallel what that person would do if they were hired into a position that required a bachelor's degree. So it can't be getting coffee or even doing administrative duties as a major part of that job. It needs to be something that would require a bachelor's degree in business if they actually took that position on. I think that's the most critical. The other for us is interaction with other employees, vendors, clients, etc. Because part of that internship experience for the student is getting to see what it's like to actually be in the workplace and develop some of those interpersonal skills. That's very difficult to do if you're at a home-based business, if you're telecommuting. So we have some framework around that, but you want to be thinking about who is that person going to be working with and what is that support system going to look like. And then the final piece is a supervisor that can lead that person, provide guidance, but I think most importantly provide feedback. Because if you're not getting that intern feedback and some boundaries within which to work as a business leader, you probably aren't going to get as much out of that intern because they're not going to know what the goals and the expectations are. And so if you want to modify behavior, I would plan for a regular time where you're meeting with that intern and providing feedback. You know, maybe that's a weekly, just quick sit-down session, maybe 10 minutes, but certainly we require at the midpoint, but I would do it even more frequently, maybe 4 times the internship. Have a session where you're saying, these are our expectations, what are yours, how are these being met, and how can we modify behavior. In terms of position development, and if you'd like to email me, I'd be glad to send you some of this information, but you want to be thinking about what are the ongoing responsibilities and if there are any projects, and I would get this down in writing. So that way you and others in the organization know, and so it's really a job description, as well as that person coming in knows what are they expected to do. If you have time frames, deadlines, I would include that as well. You also want to be thinking about some of these things because it will impact your trying to find the right person. So what is there an emphasis area? Now maybe it's not somebody from the management school, maybe it's journalism, but is there a major and emphasis area? How many years of college do they need to have under their belt before they come work for you? Are there special skills that they need? That could be software skills, it could be maybe some, it could be preparation in terms of communication practice, presentation skills, etc. Citizenship, visa requirements sometimes can be a little tricky, so you want to be checking on that, see if they need that ability, or the use of a car, driver's license. So those are some of the questions that we will ask if you're going to be posting an internship with us. Again, thinking about the relationships, all interns will have a supervisor. You may want to have a formal mentor. This is sometimes the supervisor, but often it's very helpful to have it somebody who's not the supervisor. So that way the intern can go to the mentor and say, hey, I'm not sure how to manage or negotiate this relationship. What do you suggest? So somebody who can give some of that informal advice would be very helpful. Then peers and customers, who are they working with? Logistics, where are they going to be working out of? It's going to be several offices. What are the time frames during which you want them to work? Can that be flexible? Clearly in the summer, our interns have more options in terms of timing, but during the school year, I can tell you with the business school, Fridays are good days for working. They can usually put in a full 10-hour day because they don't have classes if they're junior or senior. But you want to be thinking about what is the best schedule for your needs as well. And then finally, compensation. Dan's going to share from a legal perspective. I encourage everybody to pay the intern. My feeling is if that intern is not delivering to you $10 to $12 an hour, you're probably wasting your more money having them there because you're having to spend time with them training them. And you're probably not creating a meaty enough position. So I would be paying your intern. From a legal perspective, but just really from a value perspective. I think it's important to do that. For-profit companies, 79% of our interns are paid, and I expect that number is continuing to rise. It's quite a bit less for non-profit, but significantly, many of our interns are paid, and about 37% of our interns receive full-time offers from the internships. Just some information in terms of compensation. Our average compensation is $12 an hour, and I think the low end would be about 10. So in terms of the recruiting process, you need to be thinking about marketing. And I think part of marketing is getting your name out. For a lot of small, medium-sized organizations, they don't know you. So you need to think of a way that you can make this kind of cool and sexy and fun. What are they going to get to do that is unique? What I try to do, having worked with a lot of small, medium-sized companies as a consultant, is that you can get much better experience at a smaller business because you get a breadth of opportunity. You often get a greater degree of responsibility. But that you need to explain some of that and maybe look at it from their perspective. How can I make a difference in the world? Or what new skills can they add? You might even put on some of the marketing flyers. This is what you're going to be able to put on your resume when you leave. These are the bullet points. That's very attractive. That's what they're thinking about. How is this going to parlay into a job? What is your application process going to look like? Hopefully you're going to have multiple people apply, and you're going to be thinking about selection criteria. I will tell you that at Mizzou, the best students are gobbled up in the fall for the following summer. And that is becoming even more as time goes on and the economy is getting better. We're finding more people come on campus in the fall, do interviewing in October, and hire the best. So if you want to get some of the top students, the sooner you come on, the better, and the more information you provide. You can get some name recognition by hosting events at our business school, and I think other schools as well. So you might partner with the career services and ask them, are there any times that, like for a speaker panel, how can I become a part of the school? One thing we don't have, and it could be really interesting, is you have some small speaker sessions with small businesses. I continue to try to get students to think about that. So maybe that's something the chamber could do, is think about ways to increase just recognition of what it's like to work for a small company. So just some thoughts there. Application process, think about what you're going to require. I would require at a minimum, obviously a resume, but a cover letter. Cover letter just to see, do they really want to work for you? Are they tailoring that cover letter? Do they know about you? Can they write? If writing skills are imperative, you want to find that out. References, always important to see what their past behavior is like. Application, not necessarily important, but you also want a collection point. Some schools like us, we have a database system where you would be a part of what's called CSO, where you would post and students would apply online. But even there, they can submit resumes through a database or directly to you. Or do you want to put together some bogey emails? Because you don't want to have a ton of resumes flooding your inbox necessarily. So something to think about is, what's your collection point going to be? And then the selection process. How do you call out the best? Skype does not work very well. Luckily, most of you are here, so that's not an issue. But some of you, like Regina, having them come out to your winery might be a problem that Skype we find is technologically not as good of an instrument. So I would encourage you to come on campus, or meet at Panera's if you don't have an actual local site. But interviewing, I think, is always the best. Reference check, and I think who you have actually interview the students will make an impression, because if they have several offers, they're going to be thinking about what impression did you make on them not just did they make a good impression on you. So if they get to meet a number of people on the team, there's going to be a mentor, I think that would be very valuable if they get a tour of your site. Showing that you have interest in them is critical. And then finally, when they show up, is there a plan? And again, we just get to very proactive planning. Are you thinking about not just logistically where are they going to work, but how are you going to onboard them? How do they get trained? There's nothing more frustrating than somebody shows up on the job and there's not an assignment ready or somebody available to train. And so that may take a little bit of forethought, but what I would do is plan a week in advance, because I know in small businesses you're kind of just making ends meet sometimes, but if you can each weekend say, okay, what's the intern going to do for the next week? And build that into your, maybe plan an hour every Friday afternoon, plan what's going to happen the next week for that intern, and get those assignments ready and together. So that way, it does a couple things. One, we collect data from the interns on how those internships go, so your ratings will go up on campus as an intern host. But it's also, they're going to add more value, because if they're not wasting time, they're contributing to your bottom line, and that's what they should be doing. So plan for that. Any resources, and if there's specific training. And I believe that's all I have. Thank you very much.